Throughout history, certain figures emerge who do more than simply excel. They redefine what it means to be human. Leonardo da Vinci was one of those rare individuals. A painter, inventor, scientist, engineer, anatomist, and philosopher, Leonardo was not just a man of the Renaissance. He was the Renaissance, embodied. The mere mention of his name conjures images of the Mona Lisa's mysterious smile or the Last Supper's spiritual gravity. But these artworks, as immortal as they are, barely scratch the surface of his intellectual breadth and insatiable curiosity. What truly made Leonardo da Vinci a genius was not just his talent, but the way he saw the world. A way of seeing that transcended boundaries, unified opposites, and transformed observation into revelation. His genius was not a product of mere IQ, though estimates place it somewhere between 180 and 220. It wasn't just raw intelligence or innate ability. It was a cultivated mindset, a relentless, burning curiosity paired with rigorous observation and deep reflection. This essay explores the mental habits, life philosophies, and practical techniques that powered Leonardo's brilliance. More importantly, it discusses how we, in the modern world, can learn from and apply these same principles to enrich our own creativity, sharpen our perception, and live more meaningful, connected lives. Albert Einstein once confessed in a letter to a friend, "I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious." While Leonardo da Vinci certainly did possess special talents, what set him apart even more was that same passionate curiosity. Only his was nearly boundless. Leonardo was obsessed with understanding the universe in its entirety, both its vast systems and its smallest details. Why do people yawn? How do birds stay aloft? What causes the heart's valves to open and close? How does light behave as it enters the eye and affects perception? These were not idle questions to him. They were invitations to explore. He didn't stop at idle wondering. He took action. Leonardo gave himself explicit instructions to study everything from the tongue of a woodpecker to the flow of water, from the behavior of shadows to the anatomy of human muscles. He dissected over 30 human corpses, all to better understand the body's structure. He once noted the alternating pattern of a dragonfly's wing movements, a detail that modern slow-motion photography confirmed only centuries later. But Leonardo's curiosity wasn't the product of some magical, inborn spark. It was cultivated. He trained himself to be curious. When walking near the moats of Sforza Castle, he would pause to observe the swirling water. In the streets, he studied the emotions etched into people's faces. He gave himself games and exercises to sharpen this curiosity, ways to ensure his attention was always active, always questioning. This is one of the most important takeaways from Leonardo's life. Curiosity is not reserved for prodigies or artists. It's something we all possess, and something we can all develop. It begins with giving ourselves the space to wonder, to observe, and to ask why. In a world that increasingly demands answers before questions are even fully formed, curiosity without observation is like a match never struck. What made Leonardo's mind extraordinary was his ability to transform questions into visual revelations. He didn't just look, he saw. He honed his observational skills with deliberate, almost obsessive practice. One of the games he recommended involved estimating the length of a line drawn on a wall from a distance, using a straw as a measuring tool. Though simple, this exercise sharpened the eye's ability to perceive scale and proportion, skills that he then translated into both art and scientific analysis. Modern scientists believe Leonardo possessed an unusually high flicker fusion frequency, a rare ability to perceive rapidly changing visual stimuli that most people would miss. This ability, shared by elite athletes like top tennis and baseball players, helped him capture fleeting moments, such as the barely perceptible beginnings of a smile. This may explain the mysterious, elusive quality of the Mona Lisa's expression. According to vision researcher Margaret Livingstone, the painting's power comes from Leonardo's uncanny skill at freezing the exact moment a smile begins to form, a visual split-second that most eyes overlook. But even this extraordinary perception wasn't solely a gift. It was the product of careful study and training. Leonardo's notebooks are filled with observations, from the subtle mechanics of bird flight to the shape of the moon's reflection on water. His technique of sfumato, a way of blending edges to simulate depth and atmosphere, was born from his study of how the human eye processes light in dim conditions. He would intentionally paint under overcast skies or during twilight because he knew pupils dilate to absorb more light, creating a softer focus. These choices weren't aesthetic tricks. They were scientific insights translated into artistic techniques. Leonardo merged physiology with painting, optics with aesthetics. The same sharpness of perception that helped him dissect the human eye also enabled him to portray it with an emotional realism that still stuns viewers today. One of the myths about creativity is that it requires constant productivity. But Leonardo's process reveals a deeper truth. Real creativity requires space, stillness, and time to marinate. While working on The Last Supper, he would sometimes stand in front of the wall for an hour, make a single stroke, and then walk away. This wasn't laziness or indecision. It was precision and patience. When questioned about this peculiar habit, he explained that men of lofty genius sometimes accomplish the most when they work least. Their minds, he said, are still working, processing, integrating, perfecting ideas in silence. This was not procrastination as we usually understand it. It was a form of incubation, a kind of active rest. Modern psychology supports this. Studies by researchers like Sandy Mann and Rebecca Cadman show that passive boredom, doing tasks that require little to no mental effort, actually enhances creativity. In one experiment, people who read a phone book, an exercise in pure boredom, later produced more creative ideas than those who performed more active but dull tasks. The conclusion? The mind needs idle time to stretch and generate original thoughts. Leonardo intuitively understood this. His creative process involved both intense focus and intentional withdrawal. He would immerse himself in details, then step away and let the ideas settle. This rhythm of activity and rest is something we can all adopt, especially in an age where constant stimulation drowns out our inner voice. Leonardo da Vinci was not only intellectually gifted, he was physically exceptional. Historical accounts describe him as the strongest man in Florence, capable of bending horseshoes with his bare hands. He trained in fencing, horseback riding, and hiking. He was an avid walker, staying active throughout his life. But his physical strength wasn't just a feat of athleticism. It was integral to his intellectual power. Modern neuroscience reveals the link between physical movement and cognitive function. Exercise boosts cognitive flexibility, enhances memory, and increases creative problem-solving. Even a single 30-minute walk can significantly improve mental clarity and idea generation. Leonardo, it seems, had intuited this connection centuries ago. He understood that a healthy body fosters a sharp mind. His daily routines likely involved movement not as distraction, but as stimulation. Hiking through the countryside, he observed natural patterns. Practicing fencing, he studied human motion. His body was not separate from his intellect. It was a tool for investigation, exploration, and integration. If there is a single quote that encapsulates Leonardo's genius, it's this: to develop a complete mind. Study the science of art. Study the art of science. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. This was not poetic embellishment. It was the core of his philosophy. Leonardo saw the universe not as a collection of separate disciplines, but as one vast, interconnected system. Art and science were not opposites. They were reflections of the same truths. Anatomy informed his portraits. Engineering influenced his compositions. Philosophy guided his inquiries into nature. This worldview, one that sees connections instead of divisions, allowed Leonardo to master so many fields. He didn't put his creativity in a box. Instead, he broke down artificial barriers and let insights flow across boundaries. He observed how light bounces off skin not only to paint it more realistically but to understand optics. He studied bird wings not only to sketch them beautifully but to design flying machines. This integrative mindset is more essential now than ever. In a world siloed by specialization, Leonardo reminds us that breakthrough thinking often comes from cross-pollination, from seeing how disciplines intersect, not how they differ. Leonardo da Vinci's mind never stopped moving, and he had a method for capturing its whirlwind of ideas. The notebook. He carried one with him at all times, using it to jot down questions, sketch diagrams, make lists, and record observations. These weren't journals of reflection. They were living documents of discovery. Unlike the average to-do list, buy milk, pick up laundry, Leonardo's notes included items like measure Milan and its suburbs, learn how mortars are positioned on bastions by day and night, and ask the hydraulics master how to repair canals. His lists were active research agendas, invitations to learn, explore, and connect. Even in his later years, his notes shifted with his interests. When focused on anatomy, he wrote, "Get a human skull," alongside intricate sketches of muscles, nerves, and organs. These notebooks weren't merely records. They were blueprints for understanding the universe. They reflect a mind in constant motion, constantly questioning, constantly evolving. It's a habit we would all do well to imitate. Notebooks help us externalize thought, capture fleeting insights, and trace the evolution of our ideas. In an age of distraction, they anchor attention and foster intentional inquiry. Leonardo da Vinci remains one of the most admired figures in human history not only because of what he accomplished, but because of how he lived. His genius was not a stroke of fate. It was a method, a practice, a commitment to curiosity, observation, connection, and reflection. He teaches us that creativity is not about chaos, but about deliberate seeing. That brilliance doesn't come from rushing, but from allowing ideas to breathe. That knowledge is not fragmented, but part of one grand whole. That the body and mind are partners, not rivals. And that greatness begins not with talent, but with the simple choice to ask a question and pursue the answer with all our heart. In a world moving faster than ever, Leonardo da Vinci's life offers a timeless guide. Slow down, look closer, wonder more, and never stop learning. The genius of Leonardo was not in knowing everything, but in his relentless drive to know more, and in his astonishing ability to see what others could not. And if we can learn to see as he did, even just a little, we might find that our own lives, too, begin to transform. Thank you for accompanying. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below, so we can discuss. Wish you and your family good health.